Welcome to the Get It Done podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Ryan. Today we're interviewing Rashell Jarvis. Let's get it done. The Get It Done podcast is sponsored by Team Get It Done. Today we are interviewing Rashell Jarvis. She is the CEO and owner of Constant Close. She is the leader of Constant Close Creative, who's basically getting into creative financing, speaking about it, shining more light onto it. She is the owner of a t-shirt business, Relentless After Discipline. She is the proud wife and mother of 5. Oh my goodness, ages 25 to 6. Rashell, welcome to the Get It Done podcast.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. I'm so happy that we connected and we're able to make this happen. Super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, for sure. So we met at the Hustle Harder event, and I came right up to you. I was like, man, I just love your passion. And generally when somebody speaks so passionately about something, I mean, that they love, there's generally like a story there, an epic come up story, which we're going to get into. But before we get into that, there's 2 things I want to just like touch on. Like, my goodness, you're an owner of all of these companies. And look, I know how tough it is to be in your business from a time perspective, but you're the mother to 5 and married. Like, I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. Yep. And then tell us about the t-shirt business.
Yeah. So part of me getting into real estate was for me to be very intentional as a vehicle to do things that I'm very passionate about. I really believe in doing things that you love. And one of the things that I love is being able to share a mission statement or a mission or something passionate that comes from my heart with other people. Relentless After Discipline was born when we were at the skate park with our boys. I have 4 boys. And the skate park industry kind of has, or the environment kind of has, a bad connotation when it comes to it because it's a little bit of a rougher crowd. But my boys just took a liking to it because their dad was involved in it. And as we were trying so hard to teach them things from home and then having to deal with the world and all the things that they were being exposed to, this came out of a conversation that me and my husband were having daily. How can we teach our children to be disciplined? Because motivation, that's not really what you need to focus on, right? Motivation, our feelings can be so many different ways daily. Focus on discipline, focus on creating habits that will make you relentless in whatever it is that you want to accomplish in life. So it was born out of our family being in the skate park, and it moved into our entrepreneurial brand. We're Relentless After Discipline. Me and my husband are both entrepreneurs, and we felt like this mission statement was going to really benefit people in this industry to understand, the entrepreneur life attracts so many people, right? They're thinking I can get rich quick, I can work for myself. People do not realize how hard it is and how you have to be relentless here, hard work, and you have to be disciplined in order to make anything happen. So it definitely, like I said, it's a brand that came from our family. It's very personal and passionate to us, but we do feel like this conversation and the mission around this brand is going to be able to help people everywhere. So that's kind of a little bit about the t-shirt. So it's a passion project. So we're so excited to share that with everybody.
Well, what I love about it is that it really integrates with your family in general. Yeah. I mean, you're a parent to 5 and you're married and you're running a business, and this is real estate. So like, in our audience is generally people in the real estate industry, financial planners, insurance agents, that type. We all work hard. It's tough in our business, but to also do it while also being the mother to 5. I mean, like, what's your excuse?
Right. Well, so like, it's so true. Yeah, so true.
But here, like, just to add to it, like, motivation goes away in a minute. I mean, you can trick your brain for a minute. You can like force yourself for a minute, get that motivation. But really, it's about those daily disciplines, the habits that you're talking about. Where did this? I guess, like, dig a little bit deeper into it, because like, I mean, this
Mhm.
is clearly something that you're trying to instill in your kids.
Right.
Why is that so important to you? What was this like birthed out of?
My mom. My mom is the original epitome of boss babe. My mom um, has her own story, but part of her story was she was a mother. I have two siblings. We've always had people in our home. I had no idea at the age of 15 that my mom got her PhD. She owned a nonprofit organization that was getting national accreditation, and she was a mom, cooked dinner every day. So this was my example growing up. And my mom was a psychotherapist. So she was able to help at risk youth, the people that I went to school that were in gangs, that had so many traumatic experiences, that these are not the individuals that you put in a room with a counselor when they have traumatic experiences and trust, things of that sort. So she used psychodrama in the form of dance, healing, some older methodologies to be able to allow these kids and these adults to be able to open up and to be able to heal. Now, that was my epitome, my hero that I'm trying to live up to. So, this thought process was bred into me at a very, very young age, serving in a nonprofit organization. And I just want to be extremely real with you. When you're a mom and you have kids, we do very well in the entrepreneur space because we know the balancing act, And I don't want to say that's just moms, because there's a lot of modern families and there's a lot of different, but we grow up learning how to use and be highly efficient with the bandwidth that we have.
I,
So,
no, well, no, I was just going to interject. It's
yeah,
not. It is definitely moms, but I would say it's responsible parents in general.
yes.
I think it's people, parents who are responsible for their kids'
Hmm.
futures, and not absentee parents. You could be a father, you could be a mother, and not necessarily be there for the kids. No, you're
Yep.
talking about being there, cooking
Hmm.
dinner for them every night, and that takes prep, planning,
It does.
thought.
It does.
You have to have major disciplines to do
Hmm.
that, and then you also have to have very clear boundaries about your time, how you're using
Hmm.
it, how you strategize it. And I think that that's really, it's something that a lot of people will talk about. It's difficult to accomplish, though. Like, you can
It
give away
is.
all your secrets, which maybe we'll get into a little bit today, but try to follow in the footsteps. It's tough.
Yeah,
It requires that relentless discipline. I love that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, all right, we're already into it, and I love how I love starting here. So,
Yeah.
the Get It Done podcast is really all about the come up story. We use Elon
Hmm.
Musk as an example. He has a story from going to a million to a billion and then becoming the richest person in the world. That's great, awesome. But what
Yep.
we're really focused on is the come up story, the 0 to a million story. And
Hmm.
the best place to start that, and we're already getting into it a little bit with your mother being a boss babe. Um, how did you start your life? Where were you born? Uh,
Hmm.
what were your parents like? You shared a little bit about your mother, maybe about your father. Where were you born? How'd you start your life?
Yeah. So I was actually born in northern Arizona, and my parents met in college. My mom was raised with 25 kids on an Indian reservation. That story is going to be a movie at some point in time. Just crazy,
Wow.
exactly what your Let's Get It Done podcast is about. My dad is from El Salvador. I'm first generation on his side. And just to give you a little smidge about what my dad is like, he graduated with an economics degree and two master's degree by translating out of a dictionary and being able to graduate that way. So I can't say it enough. And I'm one of those lucky individuals that was raised by a very solid, smart, united couple. And I know that I'm very fortunate to come from a foundation like that. So that's where I was raised. But don't let me be very clear. There's a lot of things that come with that. So one of the things that I want to talk about is generational trauma, the experiences that my dad went through coming here, the racism that both of my parents experienced being on an Indian reservation or not speaking English and not having resources. So, with their amazing story, there were things unintentionally transferred onto me that I had to deal with in finding my place of being, a Salvadoreña, looking Latina, but also feeling Indian in my heart, different things that go into the workplace that I'm super passionate about talking about. But that's where I started off in Northern Arizona. They moved us down to the city in Mesa, Phoenix, and I grew up there. I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, and I went to, the same elementary school, high school that was down the street. I graduated from Mesa High. I was a jackrabbit. And I graduated 2 years early when I was 16. I am an avid learner. I love to learn. I was super, super focused on going into law and going to NYU. And my life and my journey took me another way when I ended up having my oldest son, Antonio, at the age of 18. And that kind of allowed me to be able to see, now what can I do? And that came with all the other things, right? The stats were against me, all of these different things. And that's where I really, in my life, had to dig deep, from the foundation that my parents gave me, and what do I want to do. It's a different thing when you're a person on your own, and it's a different, totally different world when you have these sweet, beautiful little eyes looking at you every single day. You are their hero, you are their everything. And I had to dig deep to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? And that's where the entrepreneurial stuff started really getting into my life, because and really look appealing to me, because working a 9 to 5, which I did, it was hard. It was really, really hard with raising a family.
I think that it's impossible to impress upon someone who's not a parent how much it does change your life. I mean, it really is something where it's your whys and your entire everything changes.
Yes.
And you almost it's literally like a rebirth. The old you literally dies. You become
Mhm.
a parent, and there's some people that run away from it, and there's some people that fully embrace it. At 18 years old, you're embracing it. And
Mhm.
you mentioned a jackrabbit. Is that like the school?
Yes.
Is that, okay? I was just like, wait, I was a jackrabbit. I was like, is this some sort of term? But anyway,
Yeah.
but before we go to high school, though, I want to go back. I want to go to you gave me so much to dig into there. So I love
Yeah.
this. So there's so much like context here.
Mhm.
First off, your mother grew up with 25 other kids on an Indian reservation, like to
Yep.
one parent.
To two parents, yes. They're at that
25 kids.
25, no exaggeration. She had 4 living siblings, and the rest of them, my grandparents raised them. Unfortunately, in the reservation, there's a lot of addictions, a lot of things that have happened based upon how these people were treated. That, not a lot of resources, to where literally people would drop off their kids knowing that my grandparents would take them in. And it was the most amazing, it'll get me kind of choked up, thing that I have embodied in my life and seen. When we talk about legacy, both of my grandparents are deceased, and seeing people show up and stand at the pulpit and talk about how they have impacted their life. And at that point in time, I learned legacy is basically the amount of lives that you touch. It's none of this materialistic stuff that we're talking about,
Mhm.
you know? And that legacy that they left, I mean, gosh, just amazing. But it was literally 25 kids. How they did it, I don't know. I know my mom still stresses out when we get together for holiday events, because she wants to make sure everybody has enough food. It's just her and my dad. They have 2 extra rooms because they're always taking people in. That's just where their heart was and what they learned. And so, I mean, like I said, very, very fortunate to grow up with parents like that.
What a cool thing to honor and to, pass on. I mean, that's
Right.
such a great, what a great influence. We talk a lot that a lot on the show, and we talk a lot about, a good friend of mine, Renee Rodriguez, talks about generally everything that we do in life is to either heal our past or to honor our past,
Yep.
and it seems like there's it's twofold, and some people do both.
Mhm.
I feel like I mean, what do you know? You get into housing, and you're helping people, close on homes. I mean, which is it's funny how it all kind of full circles.
It does.
Um,
Yep.
and okay, so but your dad was from El Salvador,
Uh-huh.
And I've known a couple people from El Salvador that's probably would be about your father's age. That's I would say I've never met somebody that's come from El Salvador that was not a incredibly hard disciplined worker.
Right.
Like incredible on discipline.
Right.
How would you say your dad has impacted your life?
Oh my goodness. My dad has the definite entrepreneur spirit, and has always worked so hard, in regards to providing for his family. My dad, the relentless after discipline, my dad has been the most consistent person in my life in regards to always showing up. He is the one that taught me what loyalty looks like. He's the one that taught me how a man needs to love me. He's the one that has taught me how to show up for myself when people were dogging on me because I got pregnant, because I come from such these parents that live their lives in such an impactful way, and people found a reason to judge my parents based off my experience. My dad stood there with pride, and stood by my side and said, I'm going to be a grandfather. It is what it is. And I'm looking forward to that. He is such a hard worker. I mean, could you imagine? Economics is hard enough.
Yeah.
Reading a dictionary and being able to use that dictionary to have 2 master's degrees and be able to pass your classes, not understanding the language of the country that you're in. And I think this is what a lot of people, either first generation or, or before that, they talk about these things of, these are our parents that are setting this example. They come to this country for this opportunity that is here, which makes the United States of America, as amazing as it is, and the struggles that they have to go through to be able to change the trajectory of their family's life. And my parents both come from humble beginnings. We didn't grow up with money or anything like that. It was them doing the work.
Right.
And so he's left so much impactful things. As you know, the relationship with your father, being a woman, is very, very important. So I've had a dad that have showed up for me my whole life, and he still does. And he's the typical Latino father. He called me about a couple months ago, and this is hilarious. I didn't answer my phone and I was super busy. And he called me. He's like, that's it. I'm like, what? He's like, you're not responsible enough to have your phone. I'm like, what? And I'm like, Dad, I'm like 41. Like, you don't even pay for my phone. He's like, you have to answer your phone. So it's always like, where are you going? How are you going to get home? So he's the epitome of that. Everybody calls him Tio Chico. I'm going to have a restaurant that I named after him. It's one of my dreams and my passions that I'm going to be doing. But huge impact in my life as a woman, and has really showed me what a man should be, is, and how is it to be loved by a man like that. It's been remarkable, to be honest with you. It's been amazing.
I mean, how cool! And as the father to a little baby girl, Miriam Joy, shout out to my daughter. I love her more than anything, and I think that's an inspiration. Tio Chico, that's
Yep.
that's really cool. Well, bring us to high school. So we're gonna go to you're a jackrabbit at Mesa High.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh, my Mesa people are be so happy about that, because it's one of the first high schools there. There was only 4, and so Mesa High was one of the original ones. So yes, Jackrabbit, proud.
We need to share this and tag Mesa High Jackrabbits, and
Yeah.
and honestly, I mean, we could end the podcast right now, and your story is an inspiration, truly, just by the upbringing that you had. And we're gonna get into more stuff, but what was high school like for you? You mentioned that you had more of you were trying to get into law. And I'm sure that was your focus. What were sports that you were involved in? What was your first car, first job?
Yeah. So I am a tomboy. I love to play sports. I'm a mean second base and shortstop. I would love to get on a league. I've been trying to do that. So I played sports. I've been on the varsity softball team since I was a freshman. So it's something that I loved. I grew up playing sports. But I would say softball was my love. I remember 9th grade, I decided to try out for cheerleading because my older sister did, and I want to do everything that she did. I made tryouts, I made the team, and then basketball tryouts were the same day. And as I got my slip that I'd made the cheer team, the basketball tryouts, and I was like, and I went and tried out for the basketball teams, last tryout, and I made the team. So I was always going that way into sports. It's something that I love. High school was a funny experience. I don't know. I always feel like, you're growing so much. It's so crazy. You're trying to find your place. A lot of ups and down in high school, because I was a big dreamer, and I went to school during the day and I did after school. I mean, who does that, right? And so I was there a little bit longer because I absolutely was invigorated with learning, and I am still that way. If you put me in a new team or business, I sit back, I take all the information, put the puzzle pieces together, and then I move. And that's just something that I guess is embedded in me. But high school was, I mean, the dances, all the different things. I thought I was an extrovert. I am not an extrovert. I am introvert for sure. So I'm very comfortable, like on stages, and I can talk to people. But for a brief amount of times, I like to have my own space. I am a Scorpio, so I love being on my own. I love my solitude. So high school was rough. I mean, there were some great moments in it, but at the same time, we're going through all of the crazy stuff, and then boys and all these different things. So my first job that I had in high school was like, literally I put applications to be like a telemarketer or whatever I could, and I ended up working for an airlines. And it was my first sales job where we would get like a $250 commission for the month. It was huge, right? And I noticed I was really good at it. I was really good at talking with people. I was really good at building rapport. I didn't even know what rapport was back then. And I was getting my bonuses all the time. But it was just something, so I had weekend money. Let's be real. I was in
Yeah.
high school, but I
Right.
think that was the first indication that I thought, kind of good at this. Like, I do really well. So that was my first job. My first car was just an old, it was like a Jeep Wrangler that I had. And I'm the baby of the family. So I always got what my sister had and what my brother had, but it didn't even matter because back in my days, if you had a hoopty, I don't even know if you know what a hoopty is, but it was like, it didn't matter what, that's what we called it. It didn't matter what type of car you had. If you had a car, it was amazing. So that was kind of like my high school, but I was anxious. I graduated at 16 because I was ready to get out. I knew what high school was, like my sophomore, my freshman year, like I took it in, and I just felt like I want to hurry up and get to my goals. So I graduated at 16 and started at MCC, which is a community college in Mesa, taking classes and being around a lot older people, which probably wasn't the best mixture. But so I started taking college classes at the age of 16.
That's incredible. I have to go back to the Jeep Wrangler part. So like I'm a big Jeep Wrangler
Yeah.
fan. And what do you know what year it was?
I don't even know what year it was. I
Was
have
it literally just a hoopty? It literally
Oh
was
yeah.
like it didn't almost didn't did like not run, not start a lot of the times?
My dad would do something in it all the time, and I knew there was like a couple of things. This was like even pushing the keys in. It's like you got to hold the steering wheel a certain way and prop it up a certain way. But I didn't care. Like I said, back in those days,
Y-
it was just we had a car we could get to here and from and go to lunch with, and we were happy with that. So I was good.
100%. What color was it?
Black.
Good old black Jeep Wrangler. That's really cool. Okay, so a lot more I can get into with this. I really love this. So I love how you say you're an introvert, and I know a
Mhm.
lot of introverts that get up on stages and speak in front of a
Yeah.
thousand people and have
Mhm.
no problem doing it. But I challenge you on that because I a lot of times I say that I'm an introvert too, but then people will be like, "You're not an introvert, you're an extrovert." I see you
Uh-huh.
in front of people, and you walk up to people and start talking to them or whatever it is. But I feel like I go back and forth. I feel like I'm a bipolar introvert extrovert. Where like sometimes it picks
Yeah.
me up with energy. Sometimes it just completely drains me. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what it's like for you? Or I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that somebody listening to this, knowing that you get up on a stage and speak in front of a bunch of people, like, come on, introvert.
Well, here's what it is. I find that introverts are more focused on quality than quantity. So I can sit here and I can talk with you for hours and I can feel very comfortable. So
Right.
it's like when you get me on a stage when I'm talking about something, and normally it's not longer than an hour, right? Like a half an hour to an hour. I'm very comfortable doing that. But when it came to the crowd afterwards, it was like, it was great. And I remember the guy that I was with from my team, Chris, he was like, "Do you want to stay and do this?" And I was like, "Let's just like sneak out the back door and go get something to eat, after we network." So I feel like introverts can have extrovert qualities, but I do find that I get my peace, my recharge when I'm on my own by myself, just hanging out by myself. So yeah, I get that, the bipolar stuff though. I get it. I get it.
I mean, right? I mean, it's kind of weird because I could absolutely do the same thing you do. And I just want to exit
Yeah,
out the back door and just be get the heck out of here. But
yeah, for sure.
so okay, telemarketing for the airlines. So like, what do you
Mhm.
even telemarket for an airlines for? Like, hey, do you want
Right.
to buy a plane ticket? Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
what are you selling?
So they
And by the way, at 16, I
Yes,
mean,
I know. And it was just a random job. I was just applying to jobs. I didn't know anything, right? I didn't want to work retail or anything like that. So I was just always I'm the person that always goes against the grain. I've just been that way. And sometimes I'm like, Rashell, don't say it, but it needs to be said sometimes, you know?
you're a
And so
dreamer. You're a dreamer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's, and it's seen something that I feel like I always feel like a responsibility. So, anyways, it was like wanting to do something different. So the airlines hired a third party that sold packages that came with their airline tickets. So although we were a third party, we could add kind of like packages where they would purchase. Now these days you can get on Priceline and all these different things, and they can add car. It was like different services like that. So when we would upsell a service with the airline ticket, depending on how many upsells, we'd get that big, large bonus of $250 a month. And so that was like I said, it was my first try at sales, and I happened to be really, really good at it. And when I was good, it invigorates you when you do something you're good at, right? And
I mean,
that
right.
was something that I did. Yeah.
Well, and especially because I mean, where you took it was, I mean, in the flipping, wholesaling in this
Right.
arena, it's like you better be good at calling people.
Yep.
I mean
Yep.
that's a skill that is much needed. If you don't have that skill, you're not going to be successful in that space.
For sure.
And I know that that's where you take it. So okay, you graduate at 16. I think that's incredible in and of itself. But then you go to MCC Community College. You're
Mhm.
having to focus on law. You're hanging out with a little bit older crowd.
Mhm.
You meet your husband, correct?
My ex-husband. Yeah.
Ex-husband, got it. So well, I was guessing.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's
Um,
perfectly fine.
so you meet your ex-husband there,
Mhm.
and then you're pregnant at 18 years old.
Mhm.
What now?
Oh my goodness. Um, yeah, growing up, one thing that I think a lot of ethnic people can resonate with me on is a lot of times we're not taught certain things, right? It is kind of you learn through comedy, or you learn from the jokes that your tios say or whatever it is. So I wasn't well prepared in that way. So I got pregnant, and obviously the first thing to do with two Hispanic families is they need to get married. They need to get married because they have a child together. One thing that I could say definitely about my ex husband is that I really, really got blessed. He was a really good human being. We both weren't prepared, but he showed up for the responsibility and had a great supportive family. But it was teenagers raising a kid,
Right.
to be completely honest with you. So it was a huge growing and learning experience of being able to get my priorities in the right place. Feeling like to be honest with you, there was a lot of guilt that I had because I felt like I lost things in my life. My dream to be a lawyer, which is so funny because all I do is work with attorneys now, and I'm in teaching attorneys how to do creative deals, which is like crazy. Was just a dream that I've had. I remember my mom telling me when I was like 2 years old, "Oh my gosh, you're going to be a lawyer." Talking was something that was a skill set. Talking, and that's why when I talked to you about my health issues that I had, there were a lot of different growing experiences in there. But we got married, and we did our best to provide an environment for a family. We ended up having another kid together, and basically we just weren't prepared for that, and we ended up going separate ways. But part of us going separate ways and now co-parenting um, was really, really hard because my ex-husband decided to just take off and leave in another state, which left me to be a single mom for a while. And I share that with you, not to say anything about my ex husband because he's a great individual. It's my journey. It's my journey to say that I raised these two boys and I had to pull all resources that I had to make it happen. And this is where real estate came into my life, because I could not be gone from 9 to 5. I just couldn't. I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have the money. I had my mom there that had health issues. And so this is where I buckled down and said, I'm just going to make it happen. And that's where I started to get into real estate.
So let's make it happen. Let's get it done. I love it. So,
Yeah.
okay. This is, I mean, this is a pivotal moment in your life. And
100%.
look, I get it. I mean, like a lot, like you're getting married. I have the best intentions here. You know, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
try our best.
Yep.
And having two, to those that don't have two's a game changer. It just is.
Yeah. It is.
And it really is. And look, you guys, it drove you guys apart. And maybe it wasn't supposed to be anyway. We were making the best out of a bad situation, whatever it is. It's a blessing. It's your story.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're wrong, but yet you had to live it. So here you are living it. It's tough. You're now a single mother. How does real estate plop into your lap? What's your first step in real estate?
Well, just like with education, I've always loved to work. And that could be another podcast about how us women have a guilt from needing and wanting to work and not wanting just to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'd worked in the finance.
Some people don't have that. Believe me.
Yeah.
Are not that. Believe me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the entrepreneur type.
Yes.
Like your word boss babe to follow in your mother's footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working. I'm going to get it done. Exactly.
And I enjoy it and I want to do it. That's the thing too, you know, is
You're driven.
Yes. And so, yeah, it was a definite pivotal part. So I had done like teller jobs and done finance. And so I decided, like, why start in a new industry? And real estate was there. And how did I see real estate? I was working as a business banker at Wells Fargo, and this girl would walk in with her daughter and deposit these checks. And they were like commission checks, right? So I was like, and she has her coffee in her sweats. I'm like, what in the heck is she doing? Just like I did with all of my classes and learning, I get to the top very, very quick. And so I went from retail to business banking within a year, became a relationship manager. And I was like, okay, I've met the part of the retail banking where I'm at. So I'm going to go into mutual funds. And I started to work for Vanguard, and really starting to understand investments. But at that same time, climbing that ladder at Vanguard and becoming a relationship manager, I could not work that 9 to 5. So I decided to go and get my real estate license, and to make that career change. And it was very, very hard because at that point in time, I was living paycheck to paycheck. And so I took my classes at night. Luckily, I had my mom come in and support me, my sister come in and support me with watching my kids. And I did it as quick as I could. And I got my license in 4 weeks. I took like an accelerated class, went and took my test, passed, and then immediately found a job with someone that wanted to give me an opportunity. This was back in 2008 during the short sale time. And at that point in time, I had to make that jump. Obviously, I could not work 2 careers. At that time, I moved back in with my parents. It was very, very hard to do that because whenever you're out and you have your own place, it was very, very hard to move back, but I needed to make that sacrifice to be able to do what I needed to do. And so, and that's how real estate came into my life, as I worked for a guy named Travis Larson. It was during the short sale times, and I did very well. And he started me handling his paperwork, closing his deals, doing all these different things. So I thought I happened to be really good at it. And that's where I kind of went into looking for someone to really train me on my skill set of being a realtor. And that was Keller Williams at that time. They had one of the best training programs. I had learned the short sale side, learned that side working for my previous broker. I got into that side and quickly became a listing agent. Really liked closing the deals with the sellers. And I felt like it was an easier job for my lifestyle because as a buyer's agent, you're going and showing people properties, you know? I got really good at being a buyer's agent where I could only go out 3 times and we put an offer on and get accepted. But sometimes it was like another Saturday. So I was always thinking of my career, what's the place where I need to be so I can be with my kids? And a listing agent was something that was a little bit more organized. I could plan my open houses. And plus, I loved closing the seller. And at that point in time, I was doing enough to where I could move out, get back on my feet, still kind of living paycheck to paycheck, but just hustling. I remember leaving my office at Keller Williams at the summertime, grabbing McDonald's for my kids, dropping it off at lunchtime, running back, doing all these different things. It was such a crazy time in my life, but I had my energy in my 20s. Like I was good. I was working from like, 6 in the morning to late at night. And it was a perfect time for me to do that. And there were a lot of parts in the journey that were really hard for me. It's like my oldest son, unfortunately, carried some weight that I wish he didn't have to carry. But that's part of the story of being a single mom. And the community around me really came and stepped up for me in regards to my neighbors, in regards to my parents, in regards to resources with schools. And I just kept hustling and hustling and hustling. So that's kind of how real estate started and kind of the journey as far as being a real estate agent.
I mean, you hustled harder and harder and harder. Something
Yeah.
had to give. Something
Yep.
had to give. And what's going to give? Well, I can wake up earlier. I can hustle. I can stay up
Yeah.
later. I can hustle. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really it's so cool that I met you at the Hustle Harder event, and we can just use
Yeah.
that. Like,
Right.
here's a little meme for Hustle Harder. So, okay,
Right.
like you mentioned that your son would carry some of the weights, and
Mhm.
I mean, you don't sound particularly proud of this. I'm not trying to bring it up, but
Yeah.
also trying to say, like, look, this is the part where like things have to give,
Mhm.
and there's humble beginnings here. We're living paycheck to paycheck here.
Yep.
How did your son have to pick up some of the weight? Because this point he's probably what, like 6 years old, 7 years old
Mhm.
ish.
Mhm.
By that, do you mean that he had to just grow up a little bit quicker?
Yes, absolutely. He was my first two kids are barely 2 years apart, if that. So they're close in age. So having appointments and doing things like that, it was him having a cell phone at 7 years old, and him having the key to the house and walking his brother home. Locking the doors, calling me that they got there okay, fixing the after school snack, doing things of that sort, waiting for me to come home. It was a lot of him waiting on me to do what I could to be there. There's a lot of stories in that are very, very hard for me where I missed not just moments, like totally just missed like Mother's Day breakfast and totally missed things that were important that like really affected my kids because the best scenario is to have two parents, and as one parent, although they have taken from my example and they have a high level of respect for women, there's a lot of things that I wasn't able to do. And unfortunately, like I talked about with my parents, we don't intentionally want to affect our kids like that. But did it affect my kids? Absolutely. Did it
Right,
affect them not having a father in the house? Absolutely. Me being so busy, there were times, through future counseling sessions, or like, Mom, I just felt this way. And it's so heart wrenching because if I knew that, but my main focus was I need to feed these kids, I need to
provider.
be a better scenario. So there's a lot of grace and forgiveness. Like my story is hustling. My story is I got it done, but that story is healing, forgiving myself, having grace, and asking for forgiveness. And hopefully that my story has implemented to my kids to see she had to do what she had to do to get it done because she was the mother and the father at that time. And I did the
Right.
best I could.
I mean, that's so beautiful, and I could just the passion just oozes out of you when you say that. It's just like this means a lot to you, and like, look, had you sure if you could wave your magic wand, it'd be a different way. And I don't think you talk about this regretfully. It's just like, look, I have some remorse. I wish
Yep.
I could have changed it if I could have, but at the end of the day, I had to put food on the table. And as a
Mhm.
starting out in real estate, entering it with a paycheck to paycheck,
Mhm.
I didn't have a lot of money when I started in the industry either. And like you
Mhm.
make phone calls, you're making cold calls. Like I need to sell.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
in different industry, different time, different lots of stuff.
Right.
Well, I started in 2007, so I don't know, a similar time. But it's
Mhm.
just it's not it's really challenging to impress upon somebody what it's like to be on straight commission when you're on if you're not on straight commission and you have to
So
sell.
true.
And oh,
So
by the way, your son's preparing food for his younger
Mhm.
brother, and
Yeah.
like, I need to make this work. I need to make this happen,
Yep.
and then go out and sell. It's a tremendous amount of pressure, and
It
it's
is.
something that I don't think many people really truly understand unless you're in it. Like,
Mhm.
but I can tell you this: our audience is generally that type of people.
Right.
What just while we're here for a second, what was the hardest thing about that? And when did you finally dip your head above water?
Mhm. Well, the hardest thing about that was my kids and not being able to be there as I needed to be there. But I am a big solution person. I don't like to complain. I don't like to see scenarios of, I'm a victim. I'm never in that place. So what I did is I focused on quality and efficiency. And let's speak to that because you guys, I get a lot of people that are DMing me and things like, I want to do this. I want to work for you, things of that sort. You need to have a clear, transparent picture about what the grind looks like in the beginning. And this is what funnels out people all the time.
Yes.
I needed to learn how to make 6 hours of calls within 4 hours of calls. I needed to learn how to be highly efficient, which is a game changer in this industry to be able to be at home. So, this is where my skills of, being a good learner, understanding and being a good observer and what can I take from these people so I can accelerate that. So that's what I did very well. And that process was hard because once again, I'm not able to be there with my kids, but I became highly efficient to where at that point in time, I was paying attention to my scenario now, what was going on in my scenario. I had my boss, Mr. Herfel, and he was closing deals. We would do these deals. We would have these calls where we would call and just ask people, do you want to sell? And do you want a cash offer? Actually, do you want a cash offer? Yes, you want a cash offer. We take that property, comp it, and send it over to our cash buyers. I started to look at that and say, no inspections, no Binzer, closing in 15 days, all cash. So much easier. What is this?
Right.
And here's another thing that we can talk about. I've worked for a lot of men. They've taught me wonderful things. They are part of the reason why I am where I am today. But I got stuck in that box. I got stuck in there. No, you're good right here, Rashell. Stay there. And
Right.
I'm not the woman that you tell that to. I don't sit very well with that. I will stay there and I will learn and I will be humble and I will know that it's patience and I need to build my skill set. But if you ever try to put me in a box, it's just not going to happen. So I was relentless. Tell me about how are you comping these deals? How are you knowing what offer to send it at? Who is your buyer? And he kept telling me and not entertaining any type of conversations that I had. So once again, my gut never steers me wrong. Rashell, you need to move. And so it was another jumping into another industry of the investment side. Now, if you're a realtor, and I spoke about this at the Hustle Harder event, and you're in investments, there's a big wall between us. There's a big wall to where the retail side doesn't really like the investment side, and the investment side attracts a big crowd to where the reason why people don't like wholesalers, all these different things. And I was wanting to make it that way once again to be able to close more deals, be more highly efficient, and put more money in my bank account.
I love that. My goodness. It's just like your words are just like a boxer, just
Oh,
you're just
I
like
love that.
hitting it. I love it because look,
Yeah.
I love don't put me in a box. It's because you're a dreamer. I mean, like,
Mhm.
you're trying to make things better and being that highly efficient, relentlessly after discipline. I think that's something that it doesn't matter if you're in wholesaling or not. I
Yep.
think that's something that you can apply to being a retail mortgage loan officer. You can apply to being a retail real estate agent or an insurance agent or a financial planner. How can you do more with
Yes.
less? How can
Yep.
you take 6 hours, cram it into 4? How
Mhm.
can you raise kids while
Mhm.
doing this? How can you be a single mother? I mean, it's just like, I, I love it. I just like, you're just like killing it. So, okay. I want to advance now. So
Okay.
you get into this new world. And to be honest with you, it's a little foreign to me. I was telling you before we hit record, this is kind of like a world that it's a different world. It really is. And I absolutely can see and relate to the people that look at wholesaling as it's like these weird people
Mhm.
or like different people, or I don't know how you describe it, but I could see where there'd be friction,
Yes.
or just a mismatch of personalities, and it can seem fake
Yeah.
or dare I say salesy, or
Yeah.
I don't know what MLM, like multi-level marketing
Yeah.
type style stuff.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. I interviewed Tony Romero,
Mhm.
who ran the Hustle Harder event. He's 22 years old and he's going to make $1 million this year.
I love it.
A millionaire driving
Yep.
his Mercedes around. Where should I go for steaks tonight? And it's like all the steak places in Milwaukee. And like, look though, but the thing is that I interviewed him too. He worked 3 jobs,
Yep.
and I mean, and I mean, like he's compared to me and you, he's a young kid, but he's
Yes.
crushing it. And
Yes.
in his very first deal, he made $24,995. I remember the amount. It's just
Love
like,
it.
and like, how can you forget that amount?
Mhm.
So I guess if you were to talk to somebody that looks at it like, number one, it's fake, or number two, it seems shady in some way,
Mhm.
what would you say to that person? And I guess, how would you, change their mind that this is real and also
Right.
not shady?
Well, I think a lot of the people that you're talking about is probably the people on the retail side, right? That have this bullfish kind of like this one perception of what they've been taught. Because as a real estate agent, we're not taught a lot about investments. They are becoming more popular. I met up with the people that were at the Hustle Harder event, the EXP people, and they're actually launching a wholesaling program, which is innovative and amazing. But the thing about it is it's more focusing on the way that I kind of try to open up people's perceptions to this is, listen, you're a realtor and your job is to provide a solution to a buyer and a seller. And you have one way to provide a solution, and that's going to the retail market. Now, what if you could provide more solutions to other people and do it the right way and bank on what you've been taught as a realtor? And that's something that I feel like realtors bring to the game, like myself: transparency, disclosure, knowing contracts, being held to a higher standard because we are a part of, like, I'm a part of Sevrar in Arizona. We bring this professionalism and different resources so we can provide more solutions to more people. So I asked them, why not have more skill set so you can serve more people? Isn't that what we're trying to do anyway? And be one of those people in that industry where people can say, I worked with Rashell, she bought my home cash, and the way that she handled this transaction was great. Like, let's change that. But I think you're exactly right, because it's an unlicensed industry, and I do feel like it is going that way where people are going to be licensed, that attracts the masses, just like the entrepreneur lifestyle. There's so much fluff and all these different things on Instagram and the cars and all these things that are great, but it doesn't portray the actual lifestyle of what it's like to do it. So it attracts the masses. And therefore, when you attract the masses, there's just going to be people that are not honest, that only want to get paid and leave a horrible perception for sellers or buyers. So we can take that and take control of that and change that by, like I said, and that's the conversations that I have with realtors that are there. It's getting that way where they're a little bit more open-minded, and let's work together. Let's collaborate.
Right.
I always step to you as an investor first, then I put my realtor hat on. But let's collaborate and let's change the industry. I mean, we can't, like I said, we can't sit here and complain if we're not doing anything about it. So
Hey,
let's,
Rashell, you bring a ton of integrity to it, and I think that
yeah.
it might even come from being a licensed realtor and
Mhm.
actually practicing and doing it
Yeah.
and hustling that piece to it. And you mentioned the EXP people, Jesse and Lisa Garcia, good friends of mine. I really love all of them over there. I've
Yeah.
actually interviewed, I think literally almost every single one of the EXP people that were there. I've interviewed on this show, and yeah, they have a different mindset. I love
They
how
do.
they're turning up the industry. But so okay, I want to bring our story to what it is that you actually do. So to an outsider that doesn't know what is wholesaling, what is flipping, I think people know what flipping is. What is I think wholesaling is more is what it is. And what is a TC? And yeah, what was the TC? What is wholesaling? And how do you, like, you already talked about how you started it. What is it? And then how'd you go out to do your own?
Yep. Okay. So wholesaling is basically when you're buying a property at a discount. You're buying at a discount, a deep discount, normally anywhere from 70 to 75% ARV, so that you can either assign it to an end buyer that can either fix and flip it or buy and hold it. So wholesaling is always buying a property at a discount. So the properties that when you're driving down your street and they're boarded up, or the non-manicured lands, that is what we live for as wholesalers, to be able to get those leads, to be able to pay out the seller, and to buy it deep enough so we can fix and flip it or either buy and hold it. So that's what wholesaling is. Pretty simple. TCing is basically a transacting coordinator. So these are the people that are in the day-to-day. So once you lock down that contract with the seller, they will open up escrow and manage that whole process until close of escrow. So they are in the weeds, looking at the preliminary title report, looking to make sure earnest money was deposited, making sure that all of the elements of the transaction are good to go so you can close on the property. They are one of the most imperative pieces to your team, is having a very high skilled TC. It'll change your business. It'll actually change your business. Now, what I'm doing now is I am more in the creative finance space. And that's where I've gotten a little bit more popular and a lot to what I speak on. And I'm probably one of a couple of the only women that are talking about it. So the creative finance is basically being able to close all other leads that are not wholesale leads. So we do have people that, let's say, don't have a lot of equity in their home and you can't buy it deep. We can provide solutions to them by seller financing their home or doing a novation agreement. So creative finance is the power of being able to provide solutions to almost anybody. Now, does that mean everybody's going to fall in there? No. The bottom line is getting your skill set to a place where you could do wholesale, creative, and the retail. But the creative option is amazing because we are able to help people that are in distress and not in distress. Now, what I have done is, because I've been a realtor and an investor, obviously I know the paperwork. And so I breeded a new TC, totally changed the industry, which I'm very proud to say. And what I've done is I've hired TCs that are salespeople. They are not just pushing paperwork around. My TCs at Constant Close are not only drawing up the purchase contract, but they're getting on the phone with your seller and executing that deal. So your seller is going to say, okay, we're doing a subject to deal. That's great. I don't feel comfortable with someone else making my loan payment, knowing that my name stays on the loan. And unless you can protect me, I really don't want to do this deal. My TCs are going to come in and they're going to talk about the protections. They're going to talk about servicing. They're going to talk about the due on sale clause. They're going to talk about deed in lieu of foreclosure. So we were able to breed a different TC that can really help you implement on creative deals. So that's what I'm doing right now. But what I'm really focusing on in 2022 is really showing my sales background. Because I've had a lot of success with Constant Close over these last 2 years, a lot of people have put me in that box because that's what they see, right? Nobody's fault. It's just what they've seen me do. But that's one of my businesses. But where I feel comfortable, where I feel alive, is on the stage and closing sellers. So I want to let people come into my world and to see what me and my husband are doing now in regards to our marketing, our funnels, all the different things, and how we are being super successful in the creative finance realm. I live in Oceanside, California. I'm from Arizona, and I took my property down with a non-distressed seller with a hybrid deal. And being able to live in our dream place by using the power of creative finance. Now,
I have to say this. I love this. So as a licensed loan officer with 15 years of experience,
right,
I can drop terms like LTV and PTI and all these things that are generally most realtors are going to know. But you are talking in a different language. I'm saying it to you because, like, I mean, like, they were bringing up wraps and and that's what you're describing when you're talking about how, creative financing is where they keep the loan. You're using their money for them to keep the home, but you're taking ownership of it and then renting it out or whatever. I mean, it's like, it's
It
crazy
is.
stuff. I mean, I
It is.
shouldn't say it's crazy. It's complicated. It's complex.
It is.
But it's fascinating to me. I guess my typical audience is not going to understand what that. I shouldn't say is not going to understand. I don't want to like just downplay my audience.
Break it down if you want. Like if you want to explain what a traditional creative.
Here, I guess what you just said. I just want to break down like one thing. So like a creative financing deal is they don't necessarily have a ton of equity, but you're still going to buy the house with them keeping their mortgage. You do a wrap mortgage on it, which like as a retail mortgage loan officer, it's just foreign language to me.
Yeah. And
I mean, you're not even using your own money, and like, and this is somehow allowed. This is legal.
Yes.
And like all above board. There's tons of paperwork that's all legit. I guess here, explain it to someone that doesn't necessarily know all about it, like me. Like me.
Let's talk about it. He's talking about a sub 2 wrap. So what subject 2 is it's a strategy.
A sub 2 wrap. I just
and I know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, I'm just calling it out. It's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It is. When I got into it too, I was like, are you kidding me? I tell people this all the time. I was like, I'm talking to my parents and they're just like, what are you talking about? Okay, so subject 2 is basically where it's a strategy to take down a property, just like wholesale is. So what you're doing is the seller's name stays in place on the loan that Jimmy has given them. Okay, so let's say with Wells Fargo, you come in as an investor, depending upon their scenario, if they have equity, non-equity. I'm not going to go into all the different disposition strategies, but we can help all of those sellers, whether they have equity, distress, non-equity, with creative finance disposition strategies. But for this example, the subject 2 is we disclose to the seller, your name will stay in place on the loan. So what does that mean? We are leveraging their credit, not my credit. So I don't need to get credit from anybody or go to a loan officer. And we will make those payments for you with all the assurances, all the transparency, but the deed is going to transfer into my name as the buyer. So the deed transfers into my name and I am paying on the seller's loan where their name stays in place on the loan. Now, what happens here is now that the deed is in my name, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to fix and flip it? Or do we want to wrap it? So let's talk about wrap since we're talking about that. Wrap, you just think of a hug, like you're wrapping someone. So these terms on this Wells Fargo loan, let's say $100,000 at 4%. Okay, we're going to put a little rehab money into it. Let's say $15,000. And at that point in time, then we can wrap it at a higher purchase price and a higher interest rate. Let's say $150,000 at 6%. Now, why can we do that? The people that you disqualify, Jimmy, that are not getting qualified for loans because of their credit, they have the money to put down a down payment. Maybe they had something happen to where their credit was affected by a foreclosure or divorce. These are what we called homestead buyers. People that want to be homeowners but cannot use traditional credit to purchase a home, and they are everywhere. A lot of entrepreneurs, people, so many different individuals. So these homestead buyers, which we have access to, and we use people like Jimmy to send these referrals our way, is the people that will say, you can be a homeowner, and this home is at $150,000 at 6%, and you're going to give me a down payment of $20,000, and we are providing a solution for the seller, for ourselves, and for the homestead buyer. So what's in it for me as the buyer is that cash flow. The difference between the $100,000 in place subject to loan and the wrap loan at $150,000, let's say the difference in that payment is $300. That's what I'm taking in my pocket every single month. Now, when we pay off this underlining loan with Wells Fargo, then I take all of that cash flow, and keep in mind, I got that $20,000 payment also. So this is a creative strategy to be able to help the seller And the seller could have been in distress. There's a lot of people going through distress that have been in COVID, forbearance, people that cannot make their loans current. I will come in and make their loans current. I will reinstate their credit and they're happy with them. I will give them a little bit of cash to get into a rental. They're happy with this as long as the transparency is there about what type of transaction they are involved in. And then I give somebody a property to live in that couldn't qualify any other way, that are homestead buyers and that are so excited to be homeowners. So this is the power of creative finance. You know, this person cannot go to the retail market. This person cannot pay commissions, and this person didn't have that $15,000 for rehab, and I've reinstated their credit. I've got a property and walked into it when it only has, you know, let's say $15,000, 15 years left on the loan, right? So I have a solution for me. I'm able to wrap it. So that, like I said, this is the power of creative finance, of opening up our minds and realizing there are more ways to take down properties, more ways to serve sellers, to serve homestead buyers, and more ways to make referrals. Like, we're in business together, Jimmy. Like, the people that don't qualify, I can help them. And the
Right.
people that need to qualify need to go see you. So it's a big network of working together and collaborating.
At the end of the day, it's all about helping people. And
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot. It's about the relationships with the people that you have. That's really the biggest power that you have. It's not just about, can I get you approved for a retail loan that literally everybody else can do? Well, no, if you come to me, I'm on team, get it done. Like, what, we're going to make this happen. Maybe I help you out, but maybe I send you to somebody that can. I want to go to constant close. I thank you for that explanation. I think that's super helpful. And then, so, okay, if let's just say I go, I'm driving through Milwaukee. I find a house. It's got their lawn is overgrown. There's boarded up windows. I'm walking down the street. I found this seller. Hey, I'm going to buy your house in cash. Negotiate a deal. I think I could do it. I come to Rashell, and Rashell does what?
I take it off your hands and handle the whole process. So we can get in and negotiate it for you. So you could send me your deal and say, I think I have a deal. We've agreed to these terms. I will comp it and say, you know what? You're great. You bought it. Let's execute it. Or I'll say, we need to renegotiate it. So I will help you lock it down with the seller, get on the phone with the seller, and you will leverage me as your partner. That's nationwide. You'll say, I have this girl who owns this business, Constant Close. She's my business partner, and she's been in the industry for 15 years. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you execute it. I'm going to manage the whole transaction process, and then I'm going to help you sell it. We're going to make sure that you can learn the process, not just earn the money, learn the process. I tell everybody, when you're done doing a deal with us, that you understand the process. We're wanting to teach it, and then we help you close it and sell it. So we help you from the very beginning to the very end. We want to make sure that everybody is making money. For us, it's not making a lot of money on one deal, because we know the money is going to come, right, with the quantity of deals we're doing, but it's teaching the process so that you're a better investor and helping you from A to Z.
My goodness. Okay, that was really awesome. And boy, you're right. We could talk for like another hour, but look, we're limited on time. So there's a couple questions that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and I want to make sure that I get these out. So I want to go for these. So, all right, first one is this: do you feel like you ever got a big break?
Yes, I do.
Elaborate.
My big break was when I aligned myself with my intention of wanting to get into the creative real estate space. And I prepared myself to do that. One of my mentors have been Pace Morby and I owe him so much gratitude for opening up so many opportunities for me. And he posted on something, and I was ready for that challenge. And at that point in time, I couldn't bring anything to Pace Morby on the creative side besides handling his paperwork. And that's what he needed, and I could do it very well. So I leveraged it. I was relentless. I have the messages on Facebook and DMing him. So that was my break. And for him to give me the opportunity, but he told me about a month ago, but you had to do something with it. But I wouldn't have been able to do something with it unless he had given me that opportunity. So that was my break.
Shout out to Pace.
Shout out to Pace. Absolutely. Yep.
If you were to do it all over again, Rashell, what would you change?
I think if I could do it all over again, I think I would have changed my environment. That's one thing that I felt like I've learned the lesson over and over again, how imperative your environment is. Um, Part of me staying in scenarios where I felt like I was put in boxes was because of me not seeing my worth and me not doing the internal work and not having the courage to be able to really know and understand that I was in control of my environment. I had a lot of the same type of bosses until recently, and I had to say the common denominator was me and accepting these type of environments. So it's that myth or that phrase that we hear growing up, you are who you hang out with. And when I was 15, I was like, yeah, right, I'm not going to do that. But you are. What do they say? If you hang out with 4 rich people, you're going to be the fifth. If you hang out with 4 poor people, you're going to be the fifth. And that is the most important thing. All of these things in real estate have been taught forever. This is not brand new. Creative real estate is not brand new. The knowledge is there, guys. You have YouTube, you have Google. The thing that you need to control, and I wish I would have implemented earlier, is my environment. Please pay attention to who you're talking to, how they speak, and the environment that you're in. It is the biggest game changer in your career, in your success, and in your life. 100%.
Gosh, I love that. I couldn't agree more. Was there ever a time, Rashell, you felt like giving up?
Yes, 2 years ago. I had constant closes in year 3. And year 2, I had partnered with a partner that was in the real estate space, but they were in a different sector of real estate, which was education. We became great friends. I made some great contacts, but it really set me back a year because I was not in the right environment. And at that point in time, I had the blessing of having too many deals I didn't know what to do with. But I had my right hand girl, Jasmine Glasgow out of Atlanta, where we were each doing like 60 to 70 transactions on our own. And seeing her work as hard as she was working and not being able to support her because of the partnership that I was in was a very hard thing to do because I always wanted to embody being the best leader. And I was ready to give up because when you partner with someone, there's so many different elements, right? And you don't control all of the decisions. And at that point, I knew I was with the wrong partnership. As amazing as people they were, we weren't aligned. They didn't look at the business that I did, and it really impacted myself and my employee. And I was like, screw it. And what happened was, as I was going to renew my contract, and I took that leap of faith again. I didn't. And then I had someone call me the next following day that saw the vision of constant close with me, which is crazy how things in the universe aligns. But there was a time that I really felt like giving up. But let's be real. I feel like the entrepreneur lifestyle is you always reach those moments at times because growth is uncomfortable, you guys. This, and I mean, all of this is like, I do have some days sometimes. I was telling my husband the other day, I just want to stay home. I think he's like, yeah, you drive yourself crazy in 2 weeks and want to get back to work. But I think we need to be transparent and say that happens quite often. But 2 years ago was an implemental part where I was like really thinking about giving up. I'm glad that I didn't, but I think it's part of the journey too, where growing sometimes it can seem a little bit hard. I don't know if you've experienced that of where sometimes it happens, through that journey, the process.
You know what? I talk about this a lot with, I mean, I'm kind of a nerdy guy that talks a lot about this with people, but I have these conversations and, sometimes you have to get to the top of the mountain to realize that there's nothing there. And there's nobody there, especially if you didn't bring anybody with. And the thing about it is that you're only alive on the way up. You're only alive on the journey. And I'm convinced fully that it's not just about the good times. When we're dead, we're not going to feel anything. The bad times are good too.
Yeah.
And it's just your perspective. I was alive. This happened. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. But
Mhm.
had it not, I wouldn't have been here.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I think that every point in your life, and like here, I haven't shared with a ton of people, but I'm struggling with some personal stuff right now. That's very
Mhm.
challenging, and but it's bringing out the best in me in other ways.
Mhm.
And you can focus on the negative and the bad and the part of you that's dying, or you can focus on the part that's being born. And
Love that.
I think that a lot of times, I think that's a perspective thing.
It
And it's
is.
really tough when you're in it. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, it's almost impossible, especially
Mhm.
to tell somebody that doesn't have that like
Understanding. Yeah.
that faith in it,
Mhm.
and really to a younger person, I would
Yeah.
say,
True.
to an older person that's been through some stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's a little bit easier to have that faith and to be like, look, things are going to get better. You're going to get that phone call the next day,
Yep.
and that has to happen. Like truly, like if it happened a week later, every day up until then, you would have been stressed out, even though you know it's coming. But the
Yes.
thing is that like that's I think that I'm convinced that that is what it is all about. I think that that feeling, that's living, being on
Yes.
that journey and accepting all the punches is a big thing. So, all right, final question here
Okay.
to set it up. There is a young Rashell out there.
Mhm.
Maybe they're the daughter of a boss babe that grew up with 25 other kids. Maybe they're the daughter of a man that grew up in El Salvador, getting an economics major, reading out of a dictionary. Maybe they come from Mesa High School. They're a jackrabbit. Maybe they're a tomboy. Maybe they're an introvert. Maybe they're a dreamer. Maybe they're struggling with a midlife crisis. Maybe they're just starting out in real estate, living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe they're moving back into their parents' home. Maybe they were put into a box. What advice would you give to someone looking to get it done?
You need to love yourself. You need to remember whose you are and who you came from, and you stand with many. You need to understand that your experiences in life and everything that you go through is going to be how much you love yourself. All experiences, all emotions are built out of two things: fear or love. Choose love. And understand that when you love yourself to such a level that all of the journey and the experiences and the ups and the downs will be such an easier battle to understand that the rejection wasn't because you were unworthy, the rejection because the universe was putting you on a different path. The rejection of somebody not loving you wasn't because you were lovable, it's because they didn't know how to love. The rejection of someone putting you in a box that offered them some security wasn't because there was something wrong with you, is because you offered that to them and it had nothing to do with you internally. So, girlfriend, love yourself. Learn how to love yourself. Love yourself loudly and understand that when you love yourself loudly, people are going to start to hate on you. People are not going to want to be around you. So, all of this is always going to be based out of love and fear. Choose love and learn how to love yourself so you can operate in the world as being you and nobody else, because that is your superpower.
Choose love and love yourself, girlfriend.
Yes, yes, yes. And boyfriend, whoever it is. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what it's about, you know? The journey. It's like I want to experience joy every single day. Like I have like this thing in me. It's just like that's just what it's about. It's what it comes down to, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Boy, I love that. What a fire answer. All right. I want to thank our audience for joining us today. I especially want to thank Rashell for spending all this time with us. And Rashell, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to connect, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you guys two different places to go. Hit me up on Instagram, which is the Rashell Jarvis. And that's where I'm at quite often. If you guys are really interested in learning about creative finance and I wanted to give free education to everybody nationwide. Please join our Facebook group. It's Creative Real Estate with Constant Close. And we're there just to help everybody nationwide. So you can hit me up in both places. Usually get back to you really quick. Would love to hear from you guys.
All right. I love that. And thanks for that. And yeah, absolutely do give a follow to our good friend over here. We're going to put links to social in the podcast description, as well as a link to the Facebook group. And look, I can tell you firsthand that Rashell just is a wealth of knowledge and just wants to give it out. And if you're interested, definitely check that out. All right, this has been the Get It Done podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And if you've liked the show and you want to support us, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you open up your Apple iPhones, open up this podcast, scroll the way to the bottom, and just tap the 5-star? Like, could you do that? Like, I mean, it would help me out a ton.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rashell, for giving your endorsement on that. That'd be great. Write us a review with what you've liked, and hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend. All those things make a huge difference in helping us reach more people. Once again, I am Jimmy Ryan. This has been the Get It Done podcast. Thanks so much for listening.
See you later.